You are listening to Fanning the Flames, the OG Suns podcast that is for the fans, you guys, by the fans, us.
Paul, buddy, what's up? Why are you not?
Hey.
You look like you're sleeping already. I thought you were already asleep.
No, I was just trying to repost this link.
Oh, look at you marketing. Hey, okay, can we let's start where we should start. I feel like I should have started with like an old school intro. Like I should have been like, what is going on, Suns fans? Because we had like the whole like by the fans for the fans thing was in there.
Yeah.
But can we can we give some like shout outs like right off the bat here? Shout out John Bloom, friend of the show, friend of the family, friend of everybody's, for the little drop there. Oh, Paul, you went away. You're back. Thank you. And then Voida, everyone's favorite, does it all, managing editor of brightsideofthesun.com. You can find his words there. And producer of our show.
Pretty much.
Without, and we never asked. He's just that good of a friend. That's the kind of guy that John Voida is, in case anybody out there is wondering. And I know everybody out there was. Did I miss anything else in all of that little rambling to start the episode, Paul?
No. I think we're good to go.
Dan's not here. That's sad. I'm always sad when Dan's not here.
Me too.
Especially because I feel like I'm very vulnerable in these types of situations, because you have been very aggressive recently. Spicy P.
Spicy.
Do I have any of the things I like? This whole YouTube thing might not have been a good idea for my activity, but I don't have any. I'll dig some up. I might have been working on some Spicy P like little graphics to like float above your head when Spicy P is coming out. It's just like pop up. But no. I felt like I needed to get your approval first, otherwise I would get Spicy P'd. That sounds like something.
That's a
creepy crawly. Hello, my friend. Aussie Suns fans. Hey, can we talk about how when did we decide to do this tonight, Paul? Probably like early afternoon
ish,
late morning. And I hop on Twitter like, I don't know, 2 hours ago, and Gavin posts, since it's the All-Star break and there's nothing entertaining happening tonight, Aussie Suns fans is going live. And I was like, all right, Dick. So like, okay, cool. Just like nothing entertaining going on tonight. Actually, they're right, because this is terribly boring already. I'm bored. How about yourself? You good? No? Paul, what should we do? What do you want to do? You want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
Did you see like the only good dunk apparently for the
Paul,
evening?
Are your lights off, Paul?
No, my lights are actually on.
Paul, why don't you for the people that are
here, let me see
listening, this doesn't matter, but why don't you, for the people that are watching, explain what's going on behind you in your background?
Oh, that would be me skydiving.
Okay, that was a very quick explanation, I guess.
That better? My ring light.
When did you go to skydiving? I mean, I remember that you went skydiving, but when was it?
Before my son was born.
That was where I was going with that, actually.
Yeah,
that's exactly where I was going with that. I would never go skydiving, period. I would not.
No, it was amazing.
Good for you. You know what I wouldn't do? Jump out of a plane.
What it like? Honestly, it doesn't. The jumping's the scariest part. Once you're in the air, it's not scary anymore. Because you're so high up, your brain can't comprehend
death
falling.
That's cool and all. I feel like there's not an amount of urine in my body that would be able to stay in during the entire fall. That's how I feel about it.
Well, that's why you got the guy who knows what he's doing. I don't know if I could do it myself.
What was his name?
I have no idea.
Come on, look how close you two got. You don't remember his name? That seems rude. You know who would remember his name? Boyd would remember his name. No response to that, Paul. You can't just like not verbally respond. Okay,
I'm sorry. I get distracted easily.
What distracted you?
I don't know.
The dude
Out of
behind you?
practice is what I am.
Hey, you had texted me before this. We started recording. You're like, hey, you know what we should do is not talk about the Suns at all. Dog wants to go outside. You want to help out with that, Paul? Can you?
Perfect.
Dude,
Yeah.
by the way, our dog like legit rings like a doorbell when she wants to go outside. I feel like that's neat, don't you?
My dog does the same thing. Well, not rings the
Oh,
door.
I
Whines.
see. I thought that was crazy, but I guess it's no different than training a dog to like go sit by the door to go outside.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm easily manipulated and easily fooled. I
You
don't
have
know,
those
Paul.
buttons when it can say "feed me" and like.
No, we don't. No, but like, yeah, the mats that you can hit different things and it says different stuff. I've seen those, but I've not used those. But we're doing a good job of doing exactly what you said we should do and not talk about the Suns. But do you want to talk about the Suns?
I don't know. I want to talk about Mac McClung's dunk. Did you see it?
I didn't see it because I was talking to you. I think no, we weren't quite on yet, but I was running around back and forth. My wife
Clearly it was
back
the
in town
only
from
thing worthy of
California.
anything in All-Star Saturday night. He recreated Blake Griffin's dunk over the Kia, but instead of like jumping over the hood, he literally jumped over the top
whole
of the
thing.
car.
Like he actually jumped over the car.
Actually jumped over the car, over the person holding the ball for him to catch it, and then almost murdered himself by like falling down immediately.
He almost murdered himself. I feel like that would have been.
It would have been
bad.
Really, really bad.
So okay. So you don't want to talk about the Suns? Is that what you're saying? You want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, we're on All-Star break. Does that mean we get a break from the Suns?
Gavin says it was pretty fire, so it's hard for me to not believe that. Dude, a break from the Suns. What does that even mean? What does that mean? Because they're always tormenting us, aren't they?
This is true. They are like one of the serial killers in the horror movies you like to watch. Just constantly coming and constantly ready to cause pain.
I need to say, Paul, that was a perfect segue into what I would like the first topic of this episode of Fanning the Flames. Welcome to Fanning the Flames, by the way, everybody. And that is this. Say something nice about the Phoenix Suns, Paul. Did that count? It's like
the color purple look really good?
That's not nice about the Suns. That's nice about the color purple. I feel like you don't need to see that part.
It's very heavy in their design.
Okay, so say something nice about the Phoenix Suns. But that was nice about the color purple. Like their color designer in 1968 had a really good taste in color. Is that what you're saying? Hold momentarily for me. You talk.
Here's what I will say for the Suns. They took swings. Unfortunately, they struck out, but it's nice to be in a position with an ownership group that takes swings. It's very disappointing when, like I said, they strike out, but it's better than the opposite of that, which is what we dealt with for far, far, far too long under the previous regime.
So the positive thing is we're trying. At least they tried.
Yeah, trying. I mean, if this was 5 years ago, I think we'd be in a much different space as a team because we would have had a very different roster construction, even more expensive.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
If this was 5 years ago, because we would have a very different roster construction, we could still have a big three and have legitimate pieces around it, which is
5 years ago, like 2 years ago, like literally months within months of Ishbia, within months of us getting an owner who was like, money doesn't matter to me at all. The NBA was like, well, it matters to us.
It matters to everybody else. It matters to Milwaukee. It matters to Utah. It matters to Oklahoma City.
So Paul, say something nice about the Suns. Matt Ishbia likes to spend money even if it's not successfully spent.
He's trying. He's trying. That's
okay.
All I can ask for. He's trying. What
I'll
about
give
you?
it to you.
Sir?
I'll give it to you. Oh, say something nice about the Suns. See, I
I mean, you're the
posed
one
the
who created
question.
this, and you didn't have one chambered.
I know. Well, or maybe, Paul, maybe I have a flair for the dramatic and I'm trying to build some anticipation. Or maybe, Paul, I knew that I would get that exact response out of you because that's how predictable you've become since you become my brain sharing non-spouse. My wife is within earshot, as I told you before we started recording, so I caught myself right there. Love you, dear. Anyway, so say something nice about the Suns. I actually didn't really think about it, actually, or maybe I did, and you took mine. Dude,
They drafted well this year. There you go.
I don't know what to say about. I don't know that I have anything nice to say about the Suns.
I just gave
They
you
drafted well. No, like I'm not, because here's the thing is like then we see Ryan Dunn mysteriously. So Ryan Dunn played 5 minutes in that game. What? I don't even know what game.
Yeah, which is I don't know what Bud's doing right now. I feel like Bud's trying to get himself fired.
Dude, I said this to Phil. I go, maybe to you guys too. Bud's coaching like a guy that either is trying to keep his job or trying to get fired. Like
it's a very
those Ty Washington minutes either say I'm desperate or they say I don't give a fuck. Right?
Yeah, or it's it could be management to some extent going, hey, let's see what we got with these guys to give them some run.
Oh, maybe. I'm just hard pressed to see like management being cool with the idea of, okay, Ryan Dunn's going to play 5 random minutes. And that's the thing is people talking about, oh, well, maybe he was injured, whatever. Like, cause he had the ankle sprain, right?
Get minutes.
But then why would he come in for 5 minutes if like don't play him then? And then obviously he played in the Rising Stars or however they have it set up. I guess some of the Rising Stars play against All-Star teams.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Dunn's gonna have to guard KD tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. That was in the little press conference today, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I guess they did draft well. That's festive and all, but they're not using it. That's the thing.
Yeah, that will be interesting, just because it those like Rising Stars are gonna try.
Oh yeah, no, that will definitely be interesting. But hold on, let's go back to helping me find something nice to say about the Suns, because let's talk about how sad this is. Dude, we started this podcast in 2016, Devin Booker's second year.
Yeah,
I could have found something positive to say about the Suns through every single year of our podcast. And I'm sitting here right now, and as you point out, I came up with the question beforehand, and I can't think of anything nice to say about the Suns. Think about that.
I know it's sickening. It's why
I quit.
You're not quitting. I know you.
You're right. I can't. You know what though? Once I quit,
you're a very addictive personality. You can't quit.
And the Suns have been the one thing I've been addicted to the longest of my life at this point, if you think about it.
God, maybe you do need to quit them. Go cold turkey.
I mean, yeah, that's the only way. It seems to be the only way to do things. Okay, help me. Come on.
Okay, let's see here.
There's got to be something positive I can say about the Suns.
We didn't trade for Jimmy Butler.
You know what? There you go. Thank you, Paul.
We didn't trade Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler.
I think that's good. I think that the not trading of Kevin Durant is particularly for Jim. Now, don't get me wrong. This rumored return would have been nice, but I think we maximize Kevin Durant's value now that he's absolutely necessarily going to be traded. This offseason more so than right now, right?
So what, do you put the odds at like 100% that KD gets traded this offseason? Or if they're able to find a team to take Brad and we get a decent, well, actually, I don't even know if we need to get a decent return for Brad. If we just get movable contracts to some extent, I would, trade him for, get pieces, not like we're trying to, I hope we don't try to do it for like another big star, but like we can get off him and maybe get, pieces to create some depth. Would they try to give it one more run? He's got 1 year left.
Would they try? Well, hold on. Say that again. Would they trade?
I'm just
try
saying,
to give it one
if they
more
can
run.
get off, if they can get off Brad relatively easily, find a trade that he will agree to go to, because I think.
Oh, you think KD then would he be okay with? Well, because I mean, look, at the end of the day,
he's still playing. I mean, he's still playing great. Like, it's just
right.
He's not a leader,
right?
Like,
and is the
and neither's Book.
So it seems to me from this that you do not think that Kevin Durant being floated in trade talks has necessarily damaged the relationship so much that Kevin Durant doesn't want to be here.
If it's because I read those trade talks as the Suns were listening. You know, there was a
I think
they weren't shopping. People were calling, and once it got floated that people were calling, more people called because they're like, oh, hey, they're actually
fair.
the idea of KD. And then, there was, that one deal that was, I don't want to say agreed to, but, kind of floated with various players coming back, that would have really transformed the makeup of the team. But, would it be what what is needed? Because it would still be a bunch of older guys for the most part. But he said, hey, I don't want to leave. And they respected that. So I think
he said, hey, I don't want to go to Golden State.
That's true. And they respected that. Because again, they weren't shopping him. They were called about him. And because they couldn't move off of Brad, they were considering pivoting. And then he said, nah. And they respected that. So I think that would be potentially is he hurt a little bit that he was potentially shopped? Possibly, but
he wasn't shopped. They just listened, you said.
That's right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Sorry, don't spicy me just yet. Okay?
I'm not. You're right.
Just clarifying.
Right. Consider being traded. Consider trading him.
Hold on. Can I interject really quick? I have to do this and I might get in trouble. Hey, babe, can you say anything nice about the Suns? Can you say anything nice about the Suns? She told me to leave her alone. That's actually sums it up pretty nicely, I'd say.
That's accurate. That's accurate.
Thanks, Gavin. I got in trouble because of you, jerk. So Gavin says 75% likelihood that Kevin Durant gets traded. Now we're jumping ahead a little bit because we're going to talk about this later. But hold on, maybe we can talk about it now if I can do this quickly enough. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
What should we be thinking about Durant's future?
Yeah, he's probably going to get traded this summer. He knows it. The Suns know it. The rest of the league know it. They're going to enjoy him while they have him.
And there was more to that I would have left in, but I thought that it would be a pretty quick and easy. Yeah, we think he's going to be traded. But that's what I get for not talking to you beforehand, Paul. That's on me. That's a lack of communication. I'm sorry. But the rest of it went on to basically say he's expensive and still performing well, but that performance is an equaling win. So there you go, the Cliff's Notes. But yeah, I mean, I guess if there's a possibility of them moving Beal in a constructive trade that makes sense, then I guess I don't necessarily think that it's irreparable. But I think you also bring up a good point when it comes to you know what, here is this is still, look, okay, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling more positive. Leading on this whole say something nice about the Suns, them respecting the fact that KD did not very understandably want to go to Golden State, I think is definitely a positive thing, because people can sit there and say, well, what about the return that they were looking at? And it was a nice looking return, the one that was
multiple players,
Kuminga, I think 2 firsts and then like a pick swap, and
Jimmy Butler.
And Butler, yeah. But at the end of the day, and I think I've probably said this.
I think there might have been more pieces. I think
Valanciunas was involved somehow, and I think, but wasn't he going to? Because I thought that was. I think he was. Dude, who cares? Yeah. It didn't happen. Why are we talking about it like that? But point being, it wasn't a return that was so good that it was going to be worth I think the damage that I think it would have caused from the optics perspective of
Right.
trading for KD and then not quite in the still of the night like Luca or like what was it? The Baltimore Colts. Didn't they leave Baltimore in the middle of the night, like quite
They
literally?
packed up the trucks and rolled out at like 2 a.m.
Right. So it wasn't quite along those lines, but you
And
know,
for you Aussies, the Baltimore Colts were a football team, and they moved to Indianapolis.
okay. I mean, there you go. You're a lesson in American history for the day. Congrats. Excuse me. What was I talking about? Thanks, Paul.
I don't know. Oh, the Suns not being
Just twist my ADD in my own head.
What's the word?
Okay. Yeah, them honoring KD's, desire to not go to Golden State. I don't think so. Okay, we're coming off of the Sarver era. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's get it out of the way right off the bat. I defended Robert Sarver, but what do? I defend everything the Suns are doing in the moment. That's just what I'm going to do. That's why when I just quit a second ago and Paul said, no, you don't, I popped my head right back up and I said, God damn it, you're right, I don't, because I can't. But put that all aside, we're coming off of an era where the Suns have not only a bad reputation with the public, with employees, with the NBA, even with officials, but they have a bad reputation with agents. Dude, Rich Paul, who, and look, I think the whole Rich Paul LeBron relationship has been terrible for the NBA, but it is what it is. It exists. You have to respect, you have to deal with it because it's very powerful. And Rich Paul hated the Suns because of Robert Sarver.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, he did.
And we see now, am I correct that since Ishbia has come in, we have had Rich Paul players, have we not?
I don't know.
I want to say one of our kind of lower end bench guys. You want to look that up, Paul? You do that, buddy. Will. But point being, we've got an owner who's obviously making strides to make the organization, especially facility wise, top notch, right? And yep. Okay, the training facility was built while Sarver was still around, while he was still in charge, but all the other stuff that he's improving on, the family center, the that type of stuff is all part of Ishbia's kind of brainchild, right? Yep. And then we've got James Jones in there as GM, who is a dude that is very well respected amongst NBA circles from his time in the league and by LeBron and his crew, obviously themselves. So if you have a player of the stature of Kevin Durant and you don't run a trade by him before it happens, and then if you do run it by him, you go, well, I know what he said, I don't like it, but man, forget it. We really like this return. Like you look terrible. And you look like all of this, it's not just I don't remember, was that one of the preseason kind of events, Josh Bartlestein or James Jones, one of them said something to the effect of, we want to make the relationship with these players less transactional. And we want it to really be about them and their family being part of this organization and coming to Phoenix and being part of our city. And if you just jettison Kevin freaking Durant to Golden State, a place that he obviously had issues with on the way out, then you're clearly not backing up that narrative. So I think it was wise of the Suns to not do it for both basketball reasons, optic reasons, and for just as human being reasons. So that's something positive, something nice about the Phoenix Suns.
And I'm just going to crush that in like 3 seconds.
Shut up, Paul.
We did have one.
Where's my spicy pea thing? What?
We did have one clutch player.
What's wrong with that's what I said, though.
I know.
So that's good.
Take a guess.
Oh, was it Nurk?
Yup.
Nurk? No, was it really? Nurk with clutch?
Yep.
Well, to be fair, that's not really. That's more. I feel like that's more on Bud.
Yeah.
I mean, Nobody else really, right? Nobody else came out and said anything bad about Nurk. Well, I guess Bud didn't say anything bad, but when you don't talk to him, and when Bud is the only one that Nurk talked about, right?
Yep.
Anyway, but so again, still that would have just also compounded the situation. So either way, but that's hilarious, dude. It just seems like a random association. I don't know. Anyway, all right, Paul. Let's see what's next. Okay, so now that we said something good about the Suns, let's talk about the fact that we suck. Yeah, because we suck, and I didn't make a banner about this. I should. Look, hey, quick, talk about us sucking, and I'll make a banner about it. Look. Oh wait, boom! It's done. We suck.
It's the worst kind of sucking. It's you're supposed to be good, but you suck. So there's not even like glimmers of hope that you can rely on or like lean into as much as we could in the early years when we first started this thing. You know,
and I'm happy you say that, because I was actually thinking about this earlier today. This is the shittiest year I've felt since we've had this podcast, dude. Like, this sucks the most.
Well, yes, there were also years we didn't pod. Like last year, we had 2 for a reason. It was a shitty year.
Hold on. Wait a minute, Paul. Mr. You had like COVID symptoms for like 6 months at one point, if I recall correctly. That's one reason why we didn't pod. And don't try to deny it, because I will text Dan right now. He might not be here, but he will respond to that text. I guarantee it.
Okay. Yes, there were many a reason, but I wasn't overly enthused to pod last year. So
but hold on. Let's not talk about why you avoided Dan and I, you terrible, terrible person. We'll unpack that later during the therapy session. I'll unpack with my own therapist. I'm hurt a little bit by that, but that's fine, Paul. It's okay.
You have a therapist? You should have a therapist.
That might be my favorite thing you ever said to me. Like, funny and true, I guess, like, have never really been at the same intersection as much as they just were, I feel. Anyway, Paul, it's not about me all the time. What were we talking about? See, I forgot. I lost my train of thought again.
The Suns sucking.
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm not looking for your excuse for avoiding us as your friends. Like, that just hurts. But I'm more saying, like, in terms of living through the season, of the 9 seasons we've lived through as Suns podcasters, this is like the crappiest of them, I feel.
I agree. I definitely, there was every other season had some type of bright spot, whether it was watching Book grow into the player he became, whether it was, getting the number 1 pick and being able to draft the wrong person. But we got the number 1 pick, and that was awesome.
Hold on. You know who should we have drafted in that draft?
I don't know, man.
No, I do know now.
Do you? It's not one of those 3?
I feel like we should have drafted fucking Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the most stable one there.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, wait. So we go through that draft. It was
like we could have been the most wrong.
Right? Yes, because because it was Ayton, Marvin Williams, who was a bust, then Luka, then Jaren Jackson Jr., then Trey. Right?
Was Marvin Williams or Marvin Bagley? Right?
Bagley. That's what it was. Marvin Bagley. Yeah.
He was second. Or whatever.
Whatever. That was the whole thing, that the Kings, like, people were like, okay, we can see drafting Ayton. But they're like, oh my God, the Kings drafted Williams too? Yes.
Bagley. Still Bagley.
Marvin
Williams. That dude was he was like 2000s player, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. So, Paul.
Yeah.
You were saying.
I was just saying, like, yeah, even those years where there was suck, there was there was growth that we could, glean to, of like, this could be something in the future. Let's watch this blossom kind of thing. Or, we can, we got a good draft pick and this draft is deep, or or whatever. Like there was always something to like, watch the games for and, just root for. And now it's like, I'm just rooting for the season to be over because I just want it to be over so I don't have to think about it anymore.
Sorry, now I'm trying to read all Boyd's comments. There are quite a bit of them. Sorry, Boyd, I forget sometimes. You have to remember, the ADD, if I get on it, I stay on it. But if I get off of it, I often don't get back on it for a little bit. What are we talking about? Paul, let me go back to Boyd distracted me because I think you said what I was going to say as to why I think that this is the kind of crappiest season I've lived through as a Suns podcaster. Dude, there's no excuses anymore, man.
Yeah.
Like, okay, before, we were building something, but then when we hit a high point, it was like, okay, well, KD didn't work at first because we didn't have enough time. And then, okay, well, now Monty's gone, we have the right coach. Okay, well, now Vogel's gone and we have the right roster too. And now it's worse. Like, it's much worse than it was.
Much worse. Yeah. Cause like I remember like last season, like everybody trying to talk themselves into all these minimum contracts that the Suns sign, and like, okay, that guy's coming off of injury and, he's going to produce higher than a minimum contract. And that guy just wasn't in the right situation. And that guy, yada, yada, yada. And then every single one of them was a bust. We somehow flipped them all into like other pieces at that trade deadline and still got swept. And then this season, it's like, I felt even better about that roster. We felt like, okay, yeah, it's kind of that second season. Got to learn how the new cap works. We can make a little bit more moves because, we took some big swings and limited flexibility. Now we can build around the edges and whatnot. And yeah, it's worse. And I don't know why. It's like everybody's having like their worst season ever.
Everybody's having, but is that really true? Like,
I mean, we brought like, I'll use Tyus Jones as an example. I mean, and I put that more on Bud to some extent, is like his style, his system doesn't rely on point guard type of system. And Tyus is a got to have the ball in my hands kind of point guard. Like he's a poor man's Chris Paul in that sense. And you took the ball out of his hands. You put him in a like not a triangle offense, but an offense where he's not the one bringing up the ball, initiating offense. Like, I mean, he's having the worst turnovers of his his career, I believe.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think I heard somebody say that the other day.
And then like whatever
it's you, then I don't know if it's true still.
Yeah.
Because then it's just hearing it from you again. Well, and I get your point there, and maybe I was again being a little nitpicky because not everybody's having the worst, but the guys that needed to perform are not performing as like to your point. Tyus needed to perform, but he's not doing
like Grayson had a great season last year and like awesome, like that guy's gonna like do this at least again, right? And then it's been not that at all.
Yeah, but he's been picking it up, and I think part of it, he's been in and out with injury, kid. But at the end of the day, like even if he picks it up and gets back to that previous form, too little, too late at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
But maybe this roster is the one we needed last year, and Bud would have done better with last year's roster. How about that?
Vogel would have done better with last year's roster.
Vogel had his chance with last year's roster.
Well, no, I'm saying, yeah, but if you're saying this roster was last year, then Vogel would have been the coach. I don't know. Never mind.
We're saying the same thing. You're just saying it in like I feel like a double negative kind of fashion.
Yes.
But so that kind of leads me into the next. We're doing a really good job with these segues, Paul. It's just fantastic. Who's to blame for the shit show that we're seeing on this court? And let me frame it this way first, because I think the
Who's
front
most
office
to
and
blame?
ownership, who's most to blame within the locker room?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's start it a different way, Paul. Sorry.
no, actually, you know what? You go first this time.
Give me 3 people who you think might be most to blame, and then we'll talk about who they are.
Definitely Bud. I will say Beal strictly from a health standpoint. Like he's only played like 66% of our games.
Go ahead.
So, and this roster is, designed in a way that, you need those 3 guys on the court as much as possible. And honestly, I'll say Book. KD is the only one that's been freaking consistent. Like, I mean, yes, will I admit that, like, what I've learned about Kevin Durant is he's the guy who would be the best player on your team, but he's not your leader. I mean, Kendrick Perkins was not the leader on the Oklahoma City like he tried to claim he was, but KD is not the guy who like gets the team to like die for you, like the type of leader that'll lead you into battle, and you'll be like Phillip Rivers. KD is not Phillip Rivers. You know how we've talked about Phillip Rivers in the past?
Yeah.
KD is just
like Phillip Rivers will make you want to run through a brick wall. Kevin Durant's not going to make you want to run through a brick wall.
Right. We don't have that guy to motivate everybody, for that matter, to give 110% at all times. We don't have that guy on our roster. We had that guy in Chris Paul. Yeah, he can be kind of grating, and that can, to some extent, in some cases, maybe only last for so long and can go poorly with some players. But, if you get the right mix of players, it can work really, really well. But, KD's not that guy. Book, apparently, I was hoping Book could kind of be that guy. I hope, 1, he maybe learned from Chris. And 2, just kind of as he grew up and matured into his, himself, he could be a more, vocal type of leader. And he's not either. He's very much like KD is, like, he's leads by example per se, but even still, like, he's had his ups and downs, and his downs have not been at the greatest time. He hasn't been elevating other players. To be honest, neither of them have. But at the end of the day, with all of that being said, I think Bud's the problem.
Cool.
Bud's
I like it. I want to let's step back, Paul. We talked about this beforehand, and I specifically was like, I had these 3 guys that I laid out, and Paul's like, cool, but I think Beal. But I'm like, okay, but I laid these 3 guys out. Paul's like, I'm gonna run through, and I'm just gonna go with Beal anyway. And then you also jump ahead and just give me the final answer when I said, let's narrow it down to 3 and let's go to 1. Paul, can you just like work with me once in a while?
No.
Fair enough. So you give KD, you don't have a problem with. I want to talk why. Actually, this will help. Why KD and not? Excuse me, flip that. So Book's in it for you, but not KD, because KD's consistent play, but Book hasn't been as consistent. What you're saying?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Now, as leaders, you think both of them just don't have it, so that's kind of a wash for both of them. Do you give Bradley Beal now? Would you agree that Bradley Beal is a little bit more of a has more of that kind of fire in him?
No.
Like he shows more? No. Okay, so he's also just kind of, so they're all zeros.
That player doesn't exist on the Suns. That player doesn't even need to be. That player doesn't need to be one of the big players, But we don't have a Draymond Green. We don't have a Chris Paul. We don't have a I'm trying to think of other players on winning teams right now who done that. Because like, I don't know, the Nuggets didn't really have that guy either, or maybe they
pretty
did.
much every player on any Detroit Pistons team that won a title, like kind of like that thing. I hear.
Like I would say Jaylen Brown on the Celtics is probably that guy for them.
I can see that. And this is going to turn into a very interesting exercise, I think. This is going to be very interesting. Okay, because let's jump ahead to that conclusion, because I agree with you. I think Bud is absolutely the problem. I also think Kevin Durant should get more blame from you than he does, and not because of his play. I've got no problem with Kevin Durant's play. I also don't have a problem with the fact that Kevin Durant isn't that he's going to convince you to run through a brick wall type of guy. My thing with Kevin Durant is, when was the last time Kevin Durant was on a team that was a happy basketball team?
That's true. He is this team.
And I'm not even saying, dude, it's like, let me, I'm not saying there's something about the dude. But hold on, buddy. Hold on, buddy. Yeah. Like, literally, I'm talking, man. Just give me a second. I'm not even trying to say anything about his personality, but like, think about what happens to the flow of the basketball game because he's so fucking good at what he does.
Yeah.
He can kill the flow of the game. And even though he's scoring, maybe he's not scoring on every possession, but he's scoring on. But then you're having guys then start getting disengaged. I don't know, whatever it is, but it could just be a mental thing when the ball gets in. And look, I'm speculating. I'm not an X's and O guy, right? We say that we're not. It's not. You're in the wrong place, right? But that's why I feel, and again, it's one of those things. Maybe it's you can't put a finger on it. You can't point to a particular thing, but if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not anything negative about him as a player or as a person. It just is what it is. Look, a lot of people, Paul, love me. They like me, whatever, right? Yeah. There are an equal number of people out there who cannot stand me. I guarantee you, right? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is great, but maybe he's not conducive to great teams.
I mean, I think I agree with that. I mean, because if you go back, when was the last time he was on a happy team? I'd probably say that the first year with Golden State.
Yeah, dude. Because the even the ones that won,
right. But I will almost I hate to say it. I mean, it's part of KD's personality because we've experienced it. With his, he's chronically online, arguably more than the two of us.
Yeah,
but,
it's true.
But they're I honestly blame the situation in Golden State more on the Golden State fans.
Okay. Well, let's not digress too much into Golden State stuff. We're gonna stay a little focused here, Paul. Let's go back to blaming
I'm getting to something.
Okay, fine.
But I'm going to fast forward here.
Gavin, Boyd, they're still watching. You guys make sure this something is worth it. I'll let you guys be the judges. I'm not going to get involved. You go.
I was just going to say that I had an epiphany the other day that the Suns have literally reran the playbook of the Brooklyn Nets. From a roster construction standpoint, and it literally flamed out the same way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't disagree, but you were talking about you were going to talk about Golden State.
I fast forwarded.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure there's a connection there. You weren't trying to pull it over on me, you little sneaky bastard. Anyway, yeah, no, I think you're right about that. 100%. So can we go back to blaming Bud now, though?
Yes.
So here's what I think happens this offseason. Let's go ahead and let me fix the Suns right now. Not fix the Suns, but I do think Kevin Durant's going to get traded. I think they're going to find a willing suitor. I think they're going to find a place that Kevin Durant's okay going with, and I think they're going to get a good return for him. And I think Bud's going to also get fired. And I know it sounds people like, well, you can't fire a coach. It's right.
It's going to happen, but it's just crazy that
Right.
they're paying
But-
3 coaches.
But just because, guess what? Just because something is crazy doesn't mean it isn't what has to be. Seems crazy doesn't mean it's not what has to be done, right? Because
Right.
look, there's absolutely zero reason this team should be this bad.
Right.
Especially when you compare it to last year's team, which for all intents and purposes was constructed more poorly and had a coach who we thought by that juncture had pretty much already lost. Well, guess what? Like, does this look like a team that wants to play for Bud right now? And
Not
here's this very well could be why we're seeing the G League rotations running out there. But I was at I don't know, one of the games we lost by like 94 points and was just depressing the whole time. One of those games. And it was the first game that Bull came out and started like going kind of ham, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it only got like limited minutes that game, then started the one after this. So whatever game that was. That G League rotation, if you will, they played hard. You can see they play hard.
Yeah.
And that's because like they just want to be on the court, right?
Right.
But when you get you get the other guys, you get the primary rotation guys, and you know that they're not playing to the level that you expect them to play. And at the end of the day, that's nobody's fault but the coaches. And whether it's a disconnect, whether it's there's a problem within that locker room, but I hate to say it, but I just don't see Bud being around next year. Unless this roster is significantly different.
Right.
And I mean, and when I say that, I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Significantly different. I don't want to say it's significantly different.
Yeah.
Like one of these 3 guys significantly different. And one of the 3 guys that I don't want to say it about significantly different. I'm done.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I look back and I'm like, was losing Monty the right call?
I still think that absolutely was, but sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just because, and maybe it was, maybe his style ran its course, but his style was to an extent kind of what we needed a little bit. Yes, you're welcome.
Yes, Paul, when you lean back, it's like, oh, he's skydiving again. Oh no, he's back. He's on the ground. He's safe. Whew, I got scared for a second. Sorry, there, Jake, equipment manager, Fallen Founder says, I like when Paul leans back and blends into his picture because Paul like disappears and all you see is him skydiving. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Paul, yes.
You're
commenting about
Bud. I think what you're saying is missing about Bud as a coach. We had at least those early years with Monty.
Right.
Being able to motivate, get his players to buy in and give their all to the game and to the system. And we're not getting that. Like, we had a system that, like, supposedly we were running, because I remember it was like everybody was kind of raving about it at the beginning of the season of like, how many threes are we going to shoot? Yada, 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 all that stuff. And it's literally fallen away, just like it did last season, where it's now KD, Book, and Beal shooting contested pull-up jumpers from inside the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what it feels like.
So okay, you think it's on Bud primarily, yes.
Yes.
So do you think Bud's going to be gone after the season? Do you think Bud makes it through the season?
I think Bud will make it through the season because there's no point in that. But
is there not a point in that?
I don't know, buddy.
2 words for you, Paul. David Fizdale.
He deserves another shot.
You ready? You want to hear me? You want to hear me?
He's Borrega.
Okay. No, you don't want to hear me apparently on David Fizdale, since you said James Borrego instead.
I was saying lead assistant?
Jesus Christ, Paul. Yes, but yes. Okay, let's bring in everybody from USD. I love it. No, but okay, here for real though. Why I think like Fizz makes sense. First of all, we know he obviously has the experience, right? He was a head coach in Memphis. He was a head coach in New York.
He was the head coach in Sacramento, wasn't he? Or am I missing?
No, that I think Mike Brown. Another USD grad who is now also looking for a job because he got he got fired for saying something about De'Aaron Fox, and then they traded De'Aaron Fox like 3 weeks after firing him. Way to go, Sacramento.
Kangs are gonna Kangs.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I kind of forgot about that being a bit of a shit show because what Luka happened. But anyway, but okay, so but you bring up a good point with Monty, right? They responded to him initially, but I think one of the problems was like Monty's kind of like embracing, like he was like 2 steps above like Earl Watts, and maybe that's still a bit much, but in terms of like his toughness, right? His tough attitude,
love.
Outside of the part where he didn't talk to DA, which what's with coaches and just not talking to players? Like Nurk said the same thing, right? Just centers, yeah. Apparently it's just like underperforming centers we hate as coaches, and we just do not talk to them. Anyway,
because all they're there to do is just rebound.
Right, but and then when they don't do that, it's really
not like we're running plays for them.
And then I think we got past the point where that kind of rawness of Monty just wasn't sufficient, which is fine, right? The team kind of outgrew what Monty was able to give to it. Vogel, I don't even know what the fuck that was. Vogel just was there because Budenholzer wasn't ready to coach yet, I guess. We'll put it like that, right? And that's the other thing. Let's think about it like that. If Bud was looking to coach last year, it probably would have been Bud in the first place, and Vogel wouldn't even happened.
Vogel would be the coach we have now.
Well, or maybe Bud would get like another year because Vogel, right? But who knows? But anyway.
Bud may have gotten a second year.
Well, and think about it. What if it was, and then we're actually like 9 games better than we were last year, and we're all like, so we're like completely hopeful right now, dude. It's all like trending in the right direction. Jesus Christ, what happened? But okay, so let's just kind of Vogel was whatever. Vogel was a guy who clearly didn't have the ability to be firm and tough with these guys, because remember the Athletic article last year at the end of the season?
Yes.
When it talked about
I'm waiting for this year's Athletic artical.
I know, right? It's coming out soon. There's not going to be a first round. But it talked about how what Vogel like tried to rip into the team and yell and scream at them. It came across as completely forced, so nobody bought into it, right? And the guys like laughed at him and whatever. That's what happens when you have a certain personality and you try to pretend suddenly like you're something else. Nobody's gonna buy that. So Vogel is, I'm gonna skip over him. Now Budenholzer seems to perhaps have the exact opposite of the whole Monty kind of embracing, thing. I mean, he comes across as very, how do I put it? I mean, it's always coach speak with him. He comes across like he's kind of just a prick, right? And obviously however he operates that locker room is not resonating, because I think you can see a kind of a decline in the focus, the intent. You see the body language too, right?
Yeah.
So if we assume
the team knows
for the sake of conversation that Budenholzer is basically on the opposite side of this coaching spectrum as Monty in terms of his kind of approach interpersonally with these players, based on what I understand about Fizz, and I say this also just a little pulling back the curtain. Paul knows this, but like we know guys that played for Fizz because he was an assistant coach when we were at USD.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that every player that I've ever spoken to has like the utmost respect for. And he's one of those guys that's going to hold you accountable, but also is kind of like a coach or a player's kind of coach. Yeah. And I frankly think that's exactly what this is the kind of,
and the fact that
I hate to say it, but it's like kind of like the kind of personality that these guys need, because they need the the firm, but they need that strong but loving fatherly figure in their life. I don't know, man. It clearly, like, the whatever's going on in the locker room right now isn't working with Bud.
And I think, however this roster is constructed next year, and it's going to be very different again in whatever format it is, I think Fizz could fit well with that. And excuse me, sorry. They they kept him around.
It's late. You're fine.
They kept him around for a reason. Like, he was on Vogel's.
Yep.
That rarely happens. So that tells you something about how they. I know he's no.
Equipment manager, fallen founder from Suns Planet Podcast suggests Patrick Ewing because of his NBA experience. Well, Paul says no, it's over.
Yeah.
Howard brings up somebody that's not in our other group chat. Howard here. Oh, maybe this is one of Boyd's burners. I don't know. It could be a real person. His rotations make zero sense. Not having a zone package, no way they should be this bad. Yeah, and rotations do make zero sense. And they shouldn't be. This team with this talent should stumble into more wins than they have. I mean, we got swept by DeAndre and the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah,
which was to a certain degree poetic, right?
Yeah.
And let's think about it too. And maybe this gets us, Paul, because we're getting up to an hour. Man, just it's old school. It's the way it was, right? But
it is.
Maybe we get to this next subject, Paul, and this is something you brought up, and I framed it like this, and tell me if you like the way I framed it. If you don't, well, I can change the banner. I'm happy to do it for you. But Paul, have we just been relegated to reality at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
what is that? What is that reality that we have been relegated to, Paul? I think you already said it just a few moments ago. In fact, hold on. Wait. Here it is again. We suck. The worst kind of sucking. Is that the reality?
Yeah, and there's no move of any kind left. So like this is what the team
there is no hope.
Yes.
This season needs a miracle. And a miracle is not coming.
No.
So what do? We enjoy basketball that's in front of us. And when we do fun little things like Devin Booker passes Walter Davis.
Yeah.
I was like, help me. Paul didn't help me.
You scared me for a second because I was like Walter Davis, I think.
Walter Davis.
I'm not good with the history part because
all-time leading scorer. And when
KD hit 30,000.
KD hits 30,000 points, we can enjoy that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, we can enjoy that kind of stuff. We can watch for hopefully Dunn getting back into legitimate rotation minutes, like when they really do get to that point where it's like, okay, yeah, let's see what we got. Is there anybody here we'd like to potentially salvage for next season, kind of thing? And we get to watch KD, and he's arguably still in his prime, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
And his game is awesome, but it's not highlight flashy in a way. So, but he's a top 10 player all time.
Easy. I mean, did watching Kevin Durant play basketball?
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's an experience. His shot making ability is second to none, and even at his age, he's still doing it. I mean, an all-star again, right? And rightfully so. This isn't like let's give Kevin Durant. So just because he's Kevin Durant, dude, he's right. He's performing. He deserves it. Which is great again for the Suns, because at the end of the day, I do think I think the only move that gives us any real hope in the immediate future is going to be to move him. And again, it's just the reality of the situation the Suns are in, and I think you hit the nail on the head with you really can't you can't do it with these three max contracts, especially when one of them is a guy that is not contributing at a max level.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously whenever you have a big three, one of those guys has to take that kind of backseat position. You think about the Chris Bosh, is like is the biggest one that kind of comes to mind from that standpoint. Like he was a 20+ point scorer. Then when he was on the Heat in those like Wade, LeBron, Bosh years, he wasn't scoring 20 on a nightly basis. I think he was averaging more, if you look back, probably like 18, 19, something like that.
I'm sorry, I was looking at Boyd's comments. What'd you say? Who was?
But Chris Bosh.
Oh.
Or Kevin Love's another example on the Cavs. There's like that third guy always has to take some kind of step back, but it's the cliche, the greatest ability is availability. And on this team,
but all those guys were also,
available.
I think step back is one thing, but step back, like Brad Beal's not starting, and I think it's justifiably so because of just how he fits in this system.
Yes,
which is and not to revisit something that's already dead and gone and in the past, but that's the only reason why I was even going to find a way to make myself okay with a Jimmy Butler trade, is because even though it is like shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, at least this deck chair fits a little better than the other one.
Yes.
System wise.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's to the same, it's like the same thing as, when I feel like this might have been the birth of Spicy P, when we had our first conversation about Nick Richards, and you were like, well, he's on, and my whole point was, well, at least he fits better than what we have right now. Now, we've obviously seen he still has those deficiencies, because what we really need is somebody who's big and athletic. He's athletic, but not big enough.
And skilled.
Big enough and not athletic enough. And skilled. Yeah, it's like, you know what happened? I feel like, remember when Nick Richards almost had 20 rebounds and he like literally like kicked his own rebound away? Like that broke him. Ever since then, it's like, well, now he's just terrible at life. It's like, fantastic. We found a way to break Nick Richards.
And then we traded for the rest of the bench.
Yeah, they're like, well, maybe he just needs his friends around him. That's what it'll be. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against keeping Nick around. Like, I think he would be. He'd be a great backup.
Yeah. Well, and like, again, like matchup wise, like when we need that type of more athletic big, great. But when we, which game was it? The Sacramento game, when we need to grab, a freaking offensive rebound in the last 2 minutes of regulation and then into overtime. Is that the right game? And we've got a big sitting on the bench, and we still had Nurk that could have maybe been useful in that situation, but you won't play him. Like, okay, well, we need a guy that would fit in that role. I mean, again, hey, we got an off season to look forward to. We say at the All-Star break.
Yep.
Anything else, Paul? I feel like that's a pretty good spot to wrap it up.
I'm happy that I'm very busy at work, because it means time has been flying by, and that means this season will end sooner.
Yeah. Oh, and hey, you know what's cool too is they upped our season tickets by 17% or whatever the fuck it is. So that's neat.
Yeah.
Hold on. Can I share this with you guys? I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this on this episode. I gotta find I shared this with you guys already, but my buddy Phil had a text message exchange with our ticket rep, and it was fantastic. Hold on. Bear with me. Keep bearing. Okay. Ticket rep. Hi there. Happy game day. Yada, yada, yada. If you haven't checked your email, invoices are live, etc. Okay. So they're basically saying, hey, remember, your invoice for next year is there. My buddy responds, hey, shocked at the 15.7% price increase. I knew those $2 hot dogs weren't going to be cheap. To which the person was like, that might be the best comment. But on a side note, if you're thinking about renewing, and then he basically said, it's kind of a lot of money for a 500 ball club. Ain't that the truth? So anyway, yes. So while we're watching this product on the court that is getting paid way more money than it's worth putting, than it's putting out product wise, we're footing the bill for it as we get a 17% increase in.
Yep, they got to pay for that luxury tax bill somehow.
Hold on, I need it. Paul, tell me if this is feasible. I'm going to read it. Ready? This is a lot, Howard. If they move KD, you do it for very little. I don't see why would we move KD for very
Maybe
little?
2 separate deals.
Yeah, and somehow get a B deals contract because you couldn't do it as one deal anyway. Dip into free agency in 2026. I like that idea though. But look, can they get off of both? Let's go back to what you said at the beginning, Paul, because I still think that very strongly that Kevin Durant will be traded this offseason because the Suns aren't a easy move away,
right.
And they need
100%.
to have something they need to take their most valuable piece. And I know they could take another valuable piece and do this too, but if they did, then they'd lose half their fan base, I feel like, based on how shit has been going.
If they do that,
But they need to take KD and they need to turn him to whatever they can to start figuring out how to still win around Devin Booker, because Devin Booker is still only 28, 29 in October of this year, then, if I'm not
mistaken. He was 17
mistaken.
when he started in the league, and I think he's in year 10 right now or something like that.
But Devin Booker, point being, is still moving into his prime, right? Like moving into the good part of his prime. He still has years, and you have to figure out a way to build around him. Yep. And Kevin Durant is going to be the player that's going to bring the most return. So you have to use that to build around Devin Booker.
And that gets to my kind of why I was so anti the Jimmy Butler trade at the time. Was I was afraid it was going to, like, if he signs, KD, he was signing, he was getting an extension. KD was going to sign an extension too. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, now we got these 3 guys with raises
extended through the next 3 years of Book's.
Through the prime of Book's prime. And then we have to finally go through the rebuild or whatever. We'd be wasting at least one more season. Whereas, yes, next season will probably come into it being projected to be a middling to less than middling team. If they do what I think they should do, is trade KD for the best possible package possible. And I would like that package to be expiring contracts, young players, and picks. Because I want to be a player in 2026 free agency. I want to be able to find that guy who can be that probably Batman to Devin Booker's Robin. And then also find the rest of the Bat family.
Alfred and
the Red Hood, Batgirl,
and
the Signal.
See, look, full circle, Paul. I feel like you finished by saying something nice about the Phoenix Suns. That's lovely. And I have to say,
we'll see.
I have to say hi to Kevin in the chat because he's my Filipino brother, of course. And that's really all. I think my wife just chuckled at that. I swear to God, she did. Maybe she's sleeping. I don't know. No way she's sleeping through this, right?
No.
Paul, my friend. Boyd, we love you. I'll just say that Boyd left YouTube and everybody went there apparently. Way to go, guys. Boyd says FML. No, Boyd, don't FML. You're good. Paul, anything else you want to add, my friend, before we sign off on this episode of Fan and Flames? This, I feel like, somehow depressing yet enlightening yet optimistic episode of Fan and Flames. Because all I heard was we're going to be players in the free agency of 2026, so I'm stoked.
I'm zen.
Zen's a good way of putting it, man.
Yeah, it's like there's no point in trying to ride ups and downs. It's just like what happens in the game happens in the game. I'm not going to be mad if we lose because honestly, I'm going to expect us to lose every game, sadly, which means if we win, it's a bonus, which is not the way you want a season with the highest salary in the history of the NBA to go.
You know what I just thought of? and this is to this point. I am now looking at Phoenix Suns games like I look at my kids' soccer games, like my youngest soccer games, in that I go and I hope she has fun. And I hope she works really hard, and I hope she does something cool along the way because that'll be exciting for me to see. But if she wins, she loses, we're going to get ice cream afterwards.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to keep going to
I
Suns
think
games.
we should take the Suns team out for ice cream.
I'm going to keep going to Suns games. I'm going to keep watching, hopefully, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant do cool things. And then on the way home, I'm going to get myself a California burrito like I've been doing for the past few seasons. I'm just going to keep doing that, Paul.
Yep. Rinse and repeat till free agency 2026.
Exactly. And if at some point along the way we get a chance, we will absolutely take the Suns to get some ice cream. All right, Paul. Now anything else? Was that the last thing? I feel like I ask you if you have anything else, and then you always have something else, and then I ask you again. I'm such a gracious host. That's the way I am.
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you.
You're the graciousness.
But nothing else. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you, Paul?
I'm still at Dersive World on Twitter, on Blue Sky, not on Instagram. But yeah, you can find me there. Ish. You find Dan Duarte at Dan Duarte1 on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
He posts less than I do. So
I'm proud of both of you guys for that. I feel like you've been posting more often recently.
I have been.
I have notifications on for you, Paul. I get tickled every time. I'm like, ooh, it's Paul. What does he have to say?
Spicy.
Okay, and that's it. So, Paul, yes, you're at Dersive, and I, of course, you can find me at So Says Jay on Twitter. It's pretty much, that's it. I'm on Instagram. Did I tell you a story about how somebody has So Says Jay on Instagram? I want to find who they are.
No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, because I tried to change my Twitter or Instagram handle to So Says Jay, and it's like that is already taken. So now it's oh hey So Says Jay. I don't know why. It's like it seems fun. So, but anyway, hey Paul, this was fun. I enjoyed it.
It was a nice Saturday night.
Old school by the fans. Oh, wait,
for the fans?
By the fans, that's you guys.
For the fans,
by the fans, that's us. What for the fans, that's you guys. By the fans, that's us. I remember how I used to always get that mixed up. I still do. Clearly. John Bloom though nailed it because he's a professional. All right, hey everybody out there watching, listening, whatever the hell you're doing, we appreciate you guys watching, listening, spending time with us, listening to us ramble on, having a little therapy session with us. And until the next time that we have one of these lovely little therapy sessions, thank you for watching and listening, and have yourself a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening.
Toodles.